Hello, welcome to yet another one of these videos where I go through all the games that I played through each month of 2021. This is going to be the final one because we're going through December, and this is going to be a long one because we've got 7 games to review. So in this one, the games that I played are Steins Gate Zero, Yakuza 0, the Jackbox Party Pack 8, House of Ashes, Sagebrush, The Dark Side Detective, and Stories Untold. So with that being said, let's get on to the first game. And so the first game I played this month was Steins Gate Zero. Now right off the bat, during this year, I wanted to have a chance to play more visual novels since, in 2020 I played a good handful of them. I played the Ace Attorney trilogy, I played the Zero Escape series, I played AI vs Omnium Files, and I thought, you know what, let's find some more good visual novels. The problem was, the visual novels that I did play, which were not that many, they were also not that good. I think there's only really like 2, and it's this, Steins Gate Zero, and Zanki Zero Last Beginning, which I did not like. But I think that my main problem with Steins Gate Zero isn't really particularly with the game itself, it's just because of me. And it's mainly just because I have had no interaction with the Steins Gate series previously. I've not played any of the previous games, and I've watched the anime. And it's just, how do I explain this? Basically, for me, playing Steins Gate Zero as someone who's never interacted with the Steins Gate series before is like, it's like someone trying to, get into Marvel, but the first film they're starting off with is, I don't know, Endgame. I've never watched any Marvel films, but for me it was basically kind of like that, but it's fine, in terms of gameplay, it's fine, the characters were alright. Admittedly, I only played for, an hour or 2 or so I've not really, connected with the characters well, and the setting. I mean, maybe I would enjoy it more if I had, more interaction with it, if I knew more things about Steins Gate beforehand, but, as for now, I don't really have any real, ambitions to really revisit the Steins Gate series, so sorry for any Steins Gate fans out there, but with that being said, I think that's all I can really say about it. So let's get on to the next game. The next game I played this month was Yakuza 0. Now this might seem a bit mad because I literally just talked about how I couldn't really get into Steins Gate 0 because I've not played any Steins Gate games or interacted with it. And this is the same case with this game, Yakuza 0. I've not really had any, real interactions with the Yakuza games or the Yakuza franchise. But I'm actually really invested in this story, Admittedly, I haven't got very far into the game. I've gotten to chapter 5 or so, and then I stopped right there because I didn't just want to play 2 games this month, and somehow I ended up with 7. But anyways, Yakuza 0 is a really fun game to play through, and I'm really invested in its story. And you know what? As soon as I wrap up with all the other games which I have to play, because there's quite a lot on my backlog, I am definitely going to make sure I play this again because it is so much fun, especially with the combat, its story, the overall interactions with characters, even the subquests, which, may be a little bit tedious in other games. But in this one, it's really goddamn fun, even with special mini games, and especially with the dual stories, because you got the stories between Kiryu and Majima, and I don't know if they flow into each other very well, admittedly, because I've only played about 2 chapters for their story, but as I said before, I'm really invested in them. I really want to see where this goes, and what hasn't been said about Yakuza 0 that hasn't already been said, It's a great game. If you haven't played it, go do so. I mean, admittedly, it's entirely in Japanese, so that might be a bit alienating for some people, but, it's translated. The only thing that's not in Japanese really is, the setting and... What are we talking about? The setting is more into the story. Anyways, what am I getting at? I'm Wolfman here. Yakuza 0, great ass game. Really want to play through it again. Let's get on to the next game. And the next game we'll be talking about is the Jackbox Party Pack 8. I'm going to go a little bit fast here because there's 5 games in here and we got to review them all. Hopefully it matches up to the trailer. But anyways, let's go through all of them. Drawful Anime. I don't really know if this is as good as the original Drawful, but admittedly I've not played Drawful 2, so that might be, a little out of left field. I don't know what I'm saying here. I'm rushing because I want to get through all these. Anyways, Drop. I think it's a very fun game, it's very fun. It's solid, I guess a solid A tier Jackbox game, if that makes sense, and it's very funny if you get the right people. Weapons Drawn, I think, is the most complicated Jackbox game, and admittedly it's like one of the longest because it takes you like 25 minutes if you're just rushing through. And for that, I didn't really like it. I kind of think it was a bit confusing and whatnot. And even though I like to draw in a group, when you're not going to have, you know, that many good drawers and whatnot, it's going to be very complicated. Well, not very complicated, it's just, I just didn't think it wasn't fun. The pole mine, the next one. Kind of like with weapons drawn, it was a bit complicated, but after like a couple of minutes or so, you kind of get the hang of it, and it's just alright, you know. But there's nothing really special.
Time to check in to the party where everyone's invited, because it's time for the Jackbox Party Pack 8! Serving up 5 sweet new party games that'll leave you hungry for more. Grab a pen and watch the weird prompts of Drawful come alive in the moving sequel, Drawful Animate. You'll believe a crab can crochet. Assemble the weirdest answer to high-stakes questions and land the corner suite with Job Job. One last thing, how soon can you start? Solve murders your friends are committing while drawing weird weapons to murder on your own in Weapons Drawn. I'll find out who did this, Dame Booty Bench. Do you dare enter the coal mine? Guess your team's opinions on bizarre surveys and escape a haunted cave. It's the ultimate in group mind. Then spin up those trivia skills to grab a space on the Wheel of Enormous Proportions. It's the only game with a Wheel of Enormous Proportions. With room for 10 players and your phone is your game controller, this is one party you can't miss. Or play remotely over a screen. We can work with that. The Jackbox Party Pack 8. Treat yourself to the sweetest party pack of them all.
Alright, we're going to slow down for this next one because the next game I played this month was House of Ashes. Now, admittedly, I'm kind of a bit late for this one because I even pre-ordered this back in like October, and I got it around like Halloween time, but admittedly I only played it like during Christmas. So yeah, that kind of gives you an insight on how fucked up my backlog was. But anyways, this is the third game in the Dark Pictures anthology made by Supermassive Games, who also made Until Dawn. And if you've not played Until Dawn, what are you doing? But anyways, I do think this is a pretty good game, you know? It's not the best, like, I didn't really like the beginning of it. I think things really pick up when the whole crew gets on the ground. And you know what? I don't really think it's the best Dark Pictures game. I'm kind of torn between either it or Little Hope, which was the previous game. But for what it is, I enjoyed it, you know. I enjoyed some of the characters, like particularly Jason and Salim. I think their relationship was pretty unique. In fact, the whole character of Salim was pretty unique. But anyways, I think this is like a first where the Dark Pictures anthology, in one of those games where the threat wasn't a figment of someone's imagination. That's a first. And I don't really count Until Dawn because it's not a part of this anthology, even though the threat wasn't supernatural. But anyways, I'm getting off track here. Admittedly, I don't think the horror was that strong. It was mostly just loud noises and blah, 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 blah. But there were quite a few bits which did feel a bit tense, but for the most part it was just like those loud noises and jump scares, which, you know, when will the industry learn that doesn't equate for horror? But for what it is, I enjoyed it, and this is a game I actually completed. That's rare. Well, not really rare, but I've not completed the game since about, what, November, and that was a shady part of me, so that was pretty early on. But anyways, House of Ashes, I did think it was a pretty good game. I liked it. I am excited for the next game, which is The Devil in Me, I think it's called. But anyways, I enjoyed it, and let's get on to the next game before I just ramble on. The next game we're going to talk about is Sagebrush. Now, off the bat, I like what this is going for. It's sort of a walking sim, I guess, but it's got that like low poly aesthetic to it, where everything's kind of pixelated and whatnot. So that gives it a unique art style, but also in its story, because you're actually walking on the sites of a cult, which you know is defunct because pretty much every person committed suicide. Insert your Heaven's Gate analogies here. But I did like what it was going for. Like, sometimes the cult felt a bit insidious, and it doesn't tell you exactly outright what the cult was going to do to its I guess inhabitants, but at the same time it sort of does, and that's kind of just myth for me. What am I saying? Anyways, however, I think there's something that really doesn't help the game, and that it's very short. Like, if you're rushing through it, you can get in like, what, under an hour. But And also, I didn't really like the exploration of it. I kind of feel that the map was a bit too small for my liking, and again, that kind of ties into, you know, the fact that it's so short. But, you know, if it had more time and if it further expanded on some of the stuff, particularly with like more notable characters, like more like our main character and the cult's leader, maybe I'd like Sage Brush a bit more. But for what it is, I liked it. I liked it like a fair bit. I mean, certainly not the worst game I ever played, but yeah, there's certainly better. And one of them is going to be the next game that's coming up. The next game we're going to talk about is The Dark Side Detective. Now, admittedly, I don't know how many people have actually played this game, but for those of you who haven't, please do. My god, it is such fun. Admittedly, on the basis, it's just a simple, spooky point-and-click adventure game. And by spooky, I mean not really that spooky. But my god, does the charm and humor alone carry it. Oh my god, like, I don't think many games have brought me a smile, like, as much as this game. Because, my god, like, even if some of the solutions to the puzzles it presents are kind of a bit or whatnot, and even if, like, some of the humor's most of the other stuff just rises up to the top. Like, god damn, there's another way to say it. I really, really love The Dark Side Detective. Like, I just really like it. I've even bought the sequel to it, which I will play sometime, alright? I gotta get through all the other shit. But, with that being said, if you haven't played The Dark Side Detective, please do. Even though the gameplay is a bit basic, it's just a simple point-and-click adventure game with a bit more puzzles. And even though there's only about, 9 chapters to it, and even then 3 of them are like DLC, but you know what? I love it. If you're looking for something spooky, or should I say spoopy, go play The Dark Side Detective, and by extent, go play its sequel, even though I haven't yet, and who knows, I might hate that. But you know what? Just go play The Dark Side Detective. I'm basically just a broken record here. Let's get on to the final game. And the final game that I played of not only last month, but last year, was Stories Untold. So, we've gone through a lot of games this year. That's about, what, 57? I don't know, I've not really counted. But out of all the things we've seen, is Stories Untold a good send-off? Yes and no. Because I appreciate what it's going for. Like, it's sort of a semi-horror experience, if that makes sense. And, admittedly, like, the gameplay I didn't find that very interesting. Like, some of it is point-and-click adventure, well, not point-and-click, text-based adventure, that's what I'm getting at. I'm recording this on, like, New Year's Day, please bear with me. And some of it is just doing other random shit. And even though the gameplay is not very dense in terms of variety, I mean, there's a lot of it, but you're just repeating the same things over and over and over and over again. So it's not really that dense. But I did feel that the story was a bit okay. Like, I'm just going to spoil for everybody who hasn't played it. But throughout, like, the final... Like, for everything except the final chapter, there's, like, this threat. Where I guess it's, like, some sort of alien orb thing. And... basically you try to get out what the point of it is, and oh my god, what's it in? But it turns out, at the final chapter revealed, it's nothing. You know, it was just that your main character was in a car crash and his sister was killed and whatnot. And I thought, well, right, that's what they're building up to. I mean, fine, but it's not really that interesting. You know, it's not really that deep. Even though, admittedly, the build up to it was a bit tense. Because I like some bits of it, you know? I can appreciate what it's going for, but, again, it's just, I kind of have mixed thoughts on Stories Untold. I might say I like it, and I might say I enjoy it, you know? Again, I'm just recording this on New Year's Day, please bear with me. But yeah, that was all the games I played in December, and if you're watching this, like, in the playlist... That's all the games I played this year. Now, I don't know whether or not I'm going to do a games I played in January, but there is one thing that I'm going to do, and I don't know if anybody's actually going to watch this to the end, but if you do, Thank you so much. But to send off all of this, to send off all the games I played in 2021, I'm gonna do a top 15 list of my favorite games of 2021. This is gonna be a big project of mine, and I can't really wait to start it, but I also dread it at the same time. But for those of you who've watched these videos, who looked at the channel and like out my stuff, even though there's quite a bit of it, I mean, there's quite a lot of variety to it, I guess. I guess that's the main way to say it. But for those of you who've liked these videos, who like what I go for, and I guess excited for this top 15 I'm doing, please don't hesitate to like, comment, or subscribe. You know, likes all that, but comments, that's where my real joy comes from. Like, reading your comments just really makes my day. But with that being said, thank you so much. I don't know what the next video is going to be, but one of them is going to be the top 15 list. See you then.